Back at the accountability desk, and let's take a look at the records of the candidates all vying to be Baltimore's top prosecutor. First up, Marilyn Mosby. With squeegee kids in the news recently, incumbent Marilyn Mosby doubling down on her policies and prosecution plans to not go after these kids, even though we're seeing them on the corners seemingly breaking current laws. And just recently, we asked Marilyn Mosby about her plans.
I don't believe in incarcerating and locking up 12-year-olds that are merely on the corner trying to survive. So we have to figure this out.
So no?
I can tell you, I believe in developing a communal solution.
We also know that there are staffing shortages within Marilyn Mosby's office. Just last month, during budget hearings, the top prosecutor told city council members there were at least 42 vacancies. But we have sources inside the office that tell us that number could actually be higher. And then there are the problems with several plea deals we've been looking at. Admitted arsonist Luther Trent setting fire to his ex-girlfriend's house, set free after serving less than 6 months in jail. Now he's back in jail and pleading guilty to federal charges, and that first plea deal from Mosby's office thrown out. Joseph Black facing attempted first-degree murder after allegedly dragging a BPD officer several blocks. Black, with a lengthy criminal history, was released late last year from a plea deal again from Mosby's office. And Austin Davidson, accused of killing a Wicomico County Sheriff's deputy, set free in 2020 in a plea deal from Mosby's office following his guilty plea to armed robbery. Next up, Ivan Bates. Bates has some plea deals in his history too. We combed through his time when he served in the state's attorney's office in the late 90s and early 2000s and found more than 100 cases where Bates was a line prosecutor and defendants served less time due to plea deals. Overall, Fox 45 News finding 29 different plea deals. Here's what Bates had to say when I asked him about his record. Given the number of plea deals that were handed out, would you change things based on your experience over the last 20 years or so if elected to the top?
Well, 20 years ago, things were in a different position. I wasn't the state's attorney. I filed the policies of the state's attorney. That's why I'm running to change those policies. We see how important the state's attorney's policies are. Any plea deal that I may have done that went below the guidelines, and back then the guidelines were different. So I can't go back and look at things from hindsight. I have to look at where we are today.
Then there's Thiru Vignarajah. His history is a little harder to find because he spent time in the federal court system, though we did comb through and pull 29 cases that he was a prosecutor on, all involving drugs, guns, robberies, or carjackings. Of those 29 cases, we found 26 were plea deals. Vignarajah says plea deals can be helpful in securing a conviction, but the problem is when people get time served and are then turned out on the streets too early.
What we should have is a clear, uniform policy set by the state's attorney and the deputies requiring engagement, advanced planning, and permission if they want to do something besides what is the ordinary course of a case.
Has that ever happened to you as a prosecutor? Did you ever go above or below without talking to your supervisor?
No.
As for the squeegee kid situation right now, both Ivan Bates and Thiru Vignarajah both say if elected, they would enforce the laws on the books. Whoever wins the primary election will face independent candidate Roya Hanna during the general election. And here are some key dates to remember. July 19th, the primary election. November 8th, the general election. But in between those two dates, September 19th, that's when Marilyn Mosby's federal trial is scheduled to begin. And remember, she's facing 4 federal charges right now, 2 for perjury and 2 for allegedly making false mortgage application statements. So between now and November, there could be a lot of things that happen that really impact the outcome of the city state's attorney's race. And everyone in Baltimore will be watching. At the accountability desk, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.